Hey everyone, my name is Rachel Bryan and I am a writer, and I am here today to talk with you about 6 different places where you can find writing inspiration. I know that sometimes for writers it can be pretty hard to find inspiration on what you want to write for, especially if you kind of hit that writer's block moment, which I think we've all had and we've all struggled with, and it's obnoxious as heck. So I'm going to kind of give you some of the ideas that I've come up with. A few of these I do myself, and then some of them I know are things that others rely on. So the first thing that you could use is true stories. So for instance, if you see a news report about something particular that happened, whether or not you're an inspirational writer or a romance writer, you see something really great in like the wedding section or the anniversary section, you can use that and pull inspiration from it to be able to create your own story. The next thing that I would talk about is other writers. So we're not talking about plagiarism here. We all know that that's like a big, huge no-no. No plagiarism, but there is a thing called fan fiction. I myself have never personally written fan fiction, but I've read a lot of it. I have read a lot of, confession, Sherlock Holmes fan fiction from the TV show and from the books. I'm a huge Holmes fan. And then I've also read 50 Shades of Grey, which might get me in trouble. I didn't like. It's Twilight fan fiction, which I also didn't like. So just a lot of people get their start writing fan fiction. E.L. James got her start from writing Twilight fan fiction during, I think it was like a book discussion group. People wanted her to continue writing it. So she did, and it was great, and it worked out for her, and now she's a published author, and she's really famous, and it's just kind of building from there. Other things that you can do are writing prompts. So one of the things I like to do is get on Pinterest and look at writing prompts. I haven't personally used any myself, but I've pinned a lot. I think we all know that we pin a lot of things and then never use them. But for instance, a writing prompt on Pinterest that I saw when I just pulled it up today was, I saw my reflection blink, so I smashed the mirror. Big mistake. So you don't have to include that specific line in your story, but you can use it to draw inspiration. So why did the reflection blink? Like my mind, because I tend to be more of a scary story writer, goes to, you know, maybe it's a shape-shifting demon behind the glass who's staring at her, and all of a sudden she's freaking out and she breaks the glass, and that allows him to escape. So that's where my brain goes to when I read something like that, and I think that other people can come up with other things that can be completely different from what I read into that. Other things that I would say are really great, so number 4 for your writing inspiration would be the world around you. So I'm going to read you a little bit of an email that I did to myself because I didn't want to forget it, and all I had was my phone with me. I was out on a walk and I happened across 2 dice laying in the grass, just out of nowhere. They were actually in my yard as I was coming up the walkway, and they weren't ours, so I have no idea how they got there, but it was just like instant moment where I knew that there was something there, and so I wrote it out. So what I had written just based on seeing 2 dice in the grass is, the 2 dice still lay there in the grass just along the garden's path where they had been all summer long. Given the fact that the grass had not been mowed in some time, they were a little hard to see, but nonetheless she could still see them there, 2 small specks of white in a sea of green. She figured she ought to pick them up, lest some archaeologist come along a few thousand years from now and do it for her. So it's brief, it's quick. I haven't actually used it for anything other than that. I probably sent that email to myself maybe almost 2 years ago now about that. So it's there for me when I'm ready to write on it. The other thing that I would say is you can use photos, which is something that I personally like myself. I'm kind of an antique store scrounger. So I went to an antique store looking for old photos that I could use for book art for a story. And I kind of wanted something that I could draw inspiration from. So what I had found were these 2 photos. This one here and this one here. So the funny thing is I've shown these pictures to people a lot, and I've asked kind of the general idea of, you know, which one do you think's scarier looking? You know, which one might appear more often on the cover of like a scary, like a ghost story? And I would have picked this one. This was the one that I initially thought, because I was like, you know, it's significantly older. The people look much more washed out. For me, that was the scarier one. but almost unanimously, I've had people pick this one. And it's all because of the old lady, or the mom figure in the picture, which I think is really interesting because she's smiling. But I've had multiple people say, no, it's like there's something else back there. And so you can find inspiration from those sorts of things and pull from them. The sixth thing for your writing inspiration needs is dreams. So what I would recommend is starting a dream journal. I actually have one. It looks very gnarly on the front and then on the back, because I started this when I was in high school. So this poor book is well over 11 years old now. Well, goodness, no, it's probably about 15 years old now. So it has all kinds of stuff in it. I've got old story notes. I've got lists. This is another kind of inspiration that I actually didn't put on my list. This is something that my Grandma Mary used to do for me. She would email me or mail me or text me, call me. I used to get these lists all the time. It's just words, single words, and I have to find some way to incorporate them into the story. So like it says, one camera, stones, music on the radio, fishing pole. So those are all things that you have to include in the story. You can see how many times I use this list to write a story. And then it just goes through just lots and lots and lots of notes, things that I've been interested in. This is one story that I ripped lots of stuff out and then taped it all back together, because we writers do that. Character names, all kinds of stuff. So this is a really great tool. I know that myself personally, I can't be the only one, have really vivid dreams sometimes, and they make for great stories. I have a sci-fi novel that I'm writing right now based on one of my stories, or on one of my dreams, and I think it's actually going to be really awesome. It was a trippy dream. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that story comes out. So just to recap, 6 places that you can find some writing inspiration are: you can look at true stories, things that are happening in the world around you. You can look at other writers and possibly think about getting into fan fiction if you need kind of a more bigger prompt. You can look at writing prompts on Pinterest or on the internet. They're all over the place. You can even just Google them and probably come up with lists of them. The world around you, like finding 2 dice in the grass. Photos or dreams. If you have any other suggestions for places where you can find writing inspiration, leave them below in the comments. You can follow me on rachellbryanwriting.wordpress.com. And I look forward to chatting with you guys in the future. I'm planning on doing some writing inspiration stuff weekly. We'll do like a Wednesday inspiration day kind of thing, where we'll just do a little writing prompt and see what people can come up with. So thank you for watching.